This is the Cole Memo. I am your host, Cole Preston. Every episode is released in audio, video, and transcript format. To find the transcript, audio, or video version of any episode, please refer to the description of the episode that you're listening to now. Within that description, you can find a link that will take you to our website, which will display the transcript for this episode and the platforms where you can find this episode in audio or video formats. If you're unable to locate the episode description on whichever platform you're listening from, simply note the episode number and visit thecolememo.com. You can find the corresponding episode, and then you'll be able to access the audio, video, and transcript versions of that episode. You might also find any links that we reference during the episode so that you might be able to do your own research. If you're not listening to this episode of The Cole Memo on Patreon, then you're listening to this episode later than our patrons. To become a patron, go to thecolememo.com/Patreon. Once again, that's thecolememo.com/PATREON. It's a great way to support our show. One of the best ways to support our show is free. Leave us a positive review from wherever you're listening to us from. Favorite this episode, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, or post a review. Your engagement and support is appreciated. Enjoy this episode of The Cole Memo. For the first episode, I want to briefly tell you what I think The Cole Memo is. And there's really no telling what it might become. So over the past few years, I've been hosting a podcast that started with a focus on drug policy. Most people know me and associate me with drug policy. The issue I started to experience was that I felt pigeonholed. Sure, I love talking about drug policy, but I want to be able to do more than that. So I started the Cole Memo. But let me be clear, the name that I picked for the show was not chosen because of the obvious pun with my name. It is a reference to federal drug policy. It's a wink towards the fact that a large part of my focus will continue to be drug policy related. However, I plan to continue to talk about more than just drug policy. In the past, for example, I've had comedians on my show, members of law enforcement, former military, musicians, professors, scientists, researchers, and more. I plan to continue to explore other topics from time to time. The first few episodes will show you that, and in the near future, I'll be releasing a series that ended up with me being dressed up as a cowboy in the middle of a desert, high on psychedelic mushrooms, buzzed off a beer that I just had in a brothel where I was interviewing working girls, otherwise known as legal sex workers in Nevada. So yeah, the Cole Memo is already off to a crazy start. Stay tuned for all that and more. As a sign of my continued focus toward drugs, I wanted to share a conversation that I had with Tommy Chong for the first episode of the Cole Memo. Please be sure to check out episode number 2, which I'm releasing alongside episode number 1, featuring Mike Fouché, a name that you might recognize if you're a longtime fan of my content. If you enjoy this episode of the Cole Memo, please rate it favorably from wherever you're listening from and subscribe if you're able. Here is my conversation with Tommy Chong. This conversation was recorded on May 10th, 2023, when I was still formulating exactly how I would launch this new show, The Cole Memo. Enjoy. So I had a Tommy Chong moment the other day. I had been traveling and I got home and I was like, man, I feel weird. Oh yeah, I ate a lot of edibles earlier and I thought about you because it's something you had told me in the past.
Yeah, that's the feeling, especially COVID, because you're thinking, I'm weird. Is it
Mm-hmm.
cold? Am I getting COVID? Or is that edible I ate kicking in? Oh, okay.
Well,
Well, how was the high? Pretty good.
oh man, I woke up the next day high. I ate a little bit too much. But yes, so perfect to answer your question.
Now you see, you'll never repeat that again, uh, and uh, and that's the experience of the weed. Is each one is individually, all by itself. You can you. That's why when people say, "What's your favorite strain?" It's like saying, "What's your favorite toke?" Yeah, because each toke is different. Not only the strain's different, but each toke is different. Everything's different.
Hell
But
yeah.
it works, and here we are.
Here
Here
we
we
are,
are.
man. Well,
Yeah.
today is May 10th. I know that in what is it? May 24th is your 85th birthday.
85th, 85.
Wow.
Yep, getting up there.
Did you think you would make it this long?
Um,
I'm joking. I figured you knew you'd make it this long with the green.
no, well, I never thought of it, but when I was in grade nine, and we were kind of writing to us in the future, and people were, you know, pretending what they thought each of us was going to be. I forget what they had me down for, but it didn't seem even feasible back then. That old age was going to eventually take over. but but while we're worrying about it, it's happened.
Yeah, the modern age of the
It was
reason I
good.
say that the modern age is because I know we spoke in the past and I know a little bit about your history, like that your mom got really sick when you were young, right? Am I remembering that
Yeah,
correctly?
yeah, totally. And she was in a sanitarium, and yeah, that was right after my birth. That we traveled around. We went to Nova Scotia, and then we came back to British Columbia, right across Canada. And my mother, well, her sisters, they all married into this Ukrainian family, and the Ukrainian family, one of them was a fur trapper. He had a dog sled and the whole thing. He was like a native, Uncle Bill. And it was after we visited Uncle Bill that my mom got TB, and then she had it for 5 years. But it defined it actually it charted out a course of life that we would have to take. Because my mom she had to be monitored all her life. Right up until the end, and then it was like, when you reach a certain point, they don't care about you anymore. you know, you're gonna die anyway. It was one of those things.
Yeah.
It was like when I got prostate cancer. The doctor wasn't upset at all. He's yeah, everybody gets it. And don't worry, you'll die of something else before this kills. Give you all that cheery outlook. And then the funny thing is that I got rectal cancer, and so having rectal cancer, they had to radiate everything. And so while they were down there, the guy said, "Well, I was down there anyway, so I cleaned out the prostate too. So now you don't have prostate cancer anymore,
Hey,
and you don't have a rectum, so you don't have rectal cancer anymore. So you're a bionic man now, dude. So just be careful."
that's
Yeah.
awesome. But that's what I mean by the modern age of science. You have the experience that you had growing up and the people you saw how they had to live and now modern science, you're able to do that and you're still pumping and chugging, right? So
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And then I watched these people with these phony limbs. They get strapping on these blades so they can run in a race. I mean, it's crazy. You know.
Right. I saw in 60 Minutes the other day a person that didn't have an arm, but they put a robotic arm. They were able to control it with their mind, like we do with our hands, like I'm doing
Uh-huh.
here. They were able to feel things. I mean, this is the future, dude. It's fucking
It
crazy.
is. It is. It is. And so if you wear one out or wear a body part out or lose it or somehow, you're going to get a new one, and you're going to get adjustable so you can take it off and try another one. And yeah, you can do that with your legs. You can do that with your arms, your fingers, pretty soon your eyes.
Hmm.
That's when it's going to be. That's, when we figure out the optic nerve, and so we can replace the optic nerve and have eyesight. That woo.
It's a crazy thought. I have a friend that went blind in the first grade, and I'm sure that idea would be crazy to him to know that potentially in our lifetime he could see again, you know?
Eventually,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's going to happen. It is definitely going to happen. And you know what we got to thank for all this advancement? War. Think about it. The art of war has caused people to invent everything. Morse code, the telegraph system, everything
The
was
internet, I think, right? Wasn't the
the
internet
internet.
kind of?
Everything,
Yeah.
everything was to help us uh, keep an eye on our enemy. You know, and yeah, yeah, yeah. You see, this violent universe that we live in, it's purposeful. It has a purpose, and it's a teaching purpose. We got to learn. This is where we evolve. This is our earth. This is our soil. This is what we come in, and we learn
Yeah.
in increments.
You want to
I think.
talk like about evolution? We got head deep into a real stoner conversation, man. Think about if your mother saw the person that I was just telling about with the bionic arm, like you wouldn't have been able to convince your mom that was a reality. That's like Jetson stuff, right? And so think
Yeah.
about we've already kind of evolved. Like that is like
Oh
you would
yeah.
show somebody like that to somebody from back then, and they'd be like, "Whoa, this is a different type of human,"
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. You see, this is what I learned. I've been kind of researching and musing the religious instructions that we were given in the Bible, like the Ten Commandments, for instance. And you look at the early commandments that we were given, and really the main commandment was that there call no man your father except God, the Father of all of us. And when you think of that, and then you put all these commandments in together, like judge not. I love that one because I've had a great epiphany about that one. If you don't have judgment, and I've learned this with people, uh, if you reserve judgment, then people can amaze you. They will amaze you because just when you're thinking they're hopelessly one way, they'll surprise you and they'll come up with something, because our ability to grow and change is so evident, you know because you look at the human race itself. Nobody stays good looking. you know you're cute for a while and then whoa. And then it's like, oh, no, don't go near this one, you know. And what it is nature. It's nature. The good looking ones, okay, they're going to attract a mate, and they're going to, you know have babies, and babies are going to grow up healthy and beautiful and blah blah blah, you know and that's to prolong the race, to keep the human race happening and earth happening, because we're all products of this earth, this little ball of granite that's whipping around the sun. at 36, what is it, 1,036 miles an hour. And that's what we're doing right now. Yeah, and if we look very carefully at the suggestions and commandments that we were given, the holy commandments, especially the one about God. If there is only God, and that's what they teach. There is, the Muslims, that's what they teach. Allah Akbar, there's only God. And the Jews, that's their belief. There's only a God, and He's in heaven. The Christians, now Christians kind of put the middleman in there, Jesus. like, like, it's like God's too old, So,
Uh-huh.
so
Got to send in fresh blood.
you need the young guy in there. Yeah,
Yeah.
to experience all this stuff, and it makes sense because what the Christians did is deify a prophet, because that's what Jesus was a prophet. He was sent here and to teach and to heal. And actually, what Jesus was sent to do was to teach us that we have everything. We've got everything. You just got to know the right code words. You know, you gotta learn the right passwords. Because if you get the right passwords, then so many things open up for you. And with Christians and Muslims and Jews, with everybody, it comes in the form of prayer. You see, we all pray. All the major religions, we all pray. Now, it's what you ask for. See, that's what you got to be careful what you ask for, because prayers will be answered. Why? Because that's our connection with learning. Like a pupil doesn't get frowned upon if he asks questions. If he's in class and he holds up his hand and asks questions, that's what school is all about. And that's what we're supposed to do in our human uh, form when we're here humanly, because we can only be here for a short period of time. And then we have to evolve, and then the younger ones take over because they have the energy and so on. And that's the way it's going. But what we're learning as we evolve is that uh, the more you learn and the higher you evolve, the less sweat comes, because with knowledge comes comfort. You can relax. You don't have to worry about it. You know where you're going. And how you're going to go, and how you're going to get there. And if you're lucky, you know who you're going to be traveling with. You got your companion, you got your family, you got everything. And if you're like that, like a lot of us are, uh, then we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. And really, but all we're supposed to be doing really is keeping the seat warm for the youngsters coming up, because all we can do, we can pass on our whatever we learn in some way, some form, to the next generation, if it's relevant. Think about that. Now, the gas car is going to be a thing of the past so soon. That's
Right.
why Putin started his war, because he realized that if he didn't get rid of this gas, you see, gasoline only sells during wartime. You see, when there's a war going on, all of a sudden oil becomes very, very well. That's your motor. That's what motorizes the war. But now that we have electricity, warfare is going to change, and we're not going to need the gasoline. The polluting of the planet, and chances are we will come up with a society where we don't need conflict. You know, We have it already. We've had it before. We can have it again. And the reason we have it is because of the the youth, the young ones coming up. They're the ones that see the futility of war, because war is just horrible. It's a part of it, like they're the neighborhood I live in. The land is so worth so much money that all these old houses now they're being torn down and rebuilt, asking 20, 30 times as much for them as there's a house down the end of the block. Now we bought our house for less than 2 million. Now the smallest offer would be 10, as is. That's the smallest offer. And then there's people. There's one down the road, a couple of about a block or two, sold for 40. It got into a bidding war. It started off, they wanted 30 million for it, and it sold for like 50 million because it got into a bidding war. And then the guy that bought it, I don't think he even lived in it. He bought it, kept it for a while, and then he sold it, probably turned it over for some more money. But that's what's going on now. And the reason is because the land is so valuable, because there's no more land. There's houses you can change. The land it just or disappear. You get swept away with a flood or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're moving along, especially here in LA.
Good shit, man. Well, do you have any big plans for how do you plan to celebrate your birthday in any sort of way? Just gonna hang out with family? What you got in mind?
We got a sort of a ritual now that when we go out to eat, and if it's your birthday, you don't pick up the tab. Everybody else picks up the tab. See, and so we get away with that for about a month, I guess, maybe longer. Until you forget. You go to a restaurant and you say, "Oh shit, I forgot it was my birthday."
Yeah.
You've celebrated 5 times, or 20 times, but that's the only celebration. Years ago, when I was a kid, it was Queen Victoria's birthday on that date, and so the whole Commonwealth, the British Commonwealth, which just watched Charles get crowned, they would celebrate with fireworks. And in Chinatown, right across Canada, they would line up across the street from each other and throw firecrackers at each other like a war. It was crazy. You're lobbing the firecrackers across the street, and you see the fireworks. It was great. And I used to fantasize, and I'd say that the whole world is celebrating because it's my birthday. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Right. Well, that's why the house went for so much down the street, Tommy. It's not the land is going up. They're listing it as Tommy Chong's neighbor.
Yeah, I'll tell you what happened when I moved in. There's a there was a series back in the day called Tarzan, and Ron Ely was the latest and probably the last Tarzan. Anyway, he had bought the house next door to me just before I moved in, and so when I moved in, it was a shock to the neighbor. Tommy Jones moving in, and the first thing Ron Ely did was build a 8 foot high cement wall. He put up a wall
Between your
between our.
house?
Yeah. Before that, we shared everything, and now because I was moving in, he wanted to stake his claim on what was his
Sure.
property,
Sure. Yeah.
and he did, which was cool.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah. Hey, I get it. It's funny. I know you get this. I know it's like you probably can't go anywhere without somebody being like, dude, are you fucking Tommy Chong? But I just wanted to share a quick experience that I had with you today. I don't even know why I did. I work with a bunch of nerds, right? And we are not in the weed industry or anything. And I don't think anybody smokes weed where I work. And so I said, yeah, I got to get going. I got a conversation tonight with somebody and a really cool person, I said. And they're like, you can't just say that and not tell me who. And I was like, well, what the heck? I'll tell you. And I said, it's with Tommy Chong. I don't know if you know who. And they're like, of course I know who Tommy Chong is. And they don't even smoke weed. So it's funny how like you transcend, um,
Yeah, yeah,
you know, even
yeah.
cannabis. So,
We sure did. Well, when you're on, I used to be the big favorite on Fox News.
mhm,
Uh, this is before Tucker. It was Bill O'Reilly time,
mhm,
and Bill O'Reilly was big time, and they would have me on Fox because I pissed everybody off, you know, because they're so anti-pot.
sure.
And I had to get on Fox, and I'd say, yeah, come on, everybody smokes pot, and I'd make up people, you know, like Danny Sullivan, the race car driver. I know Danny. I knew Danny, but I never smoked pot with him or anything. But I just outed everybody. Oh yeah, Danny Sullivan. Race car driver. Yeah, he smokes pot, and it would piss everybody else off. And so we're in where was it? St. Louis, Missouri, and the radio there. One of the big listeners was Ashcroft, the attorney general. He was from there, and so I'm guessing that he heard a broadcast where I outed everybody and outed Danny Sullivan and Arnold. Well, Arnold did smoke, and I did. I've smoked up with Arnold before, but I used to. Those guys, they would get all upset, all get their little underwears in a knot, over that. But uh, it was a time when the right wing and the left wing, they had no problem. But see what happened with Trump, and I love Trump, man. I love, I know how dangerous he
He's
is.
going to be on CNN tonight, by the
I
way.
know, I know, I know.
It'll be
It's a
interesting.
brilliant, brilliant
Brilliant.
move.
Oh, yeah.
Because the last thing you want to do is say you don't want him on the air.
Mhm.
Now everybody wants to see him. This way, you say, you want to be on the air? Yeah, come on, let's
Come on.
go on, see it in, and no holds barred. Let us know how you feel, Don. We want to know your, we want to know all your theories on evolution and everything.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I love that idea.
It's what I realized the other day. So I asked you this question in the past, and I recently got because I've been asking this question to everybody. I've been obsessed with this question, Tommy. I think about when you were pushing for what you know is legalization back in the day. You were simply saying, hey, man, I don't want to go to jail for this, right? I've got this in my
Yeah,
hand. I don't want to be thrown in the slammer for this. Are you kidding me? You weren't saying, I don't want to, you weren't saying like, let's legalize it, but people can only buy this much, only 30 grams, and it must be in like this package and everything. And I'm not saying that
yeah,
regulations like that aren't good. I'm just saying that it seems like we've missed the goal of legalization. And so one of the things that this person said that I thought was profound and I wanted to hear your perspective on is they said, well, Cole, think about like civil rights in general, and that this is how civil rights has worked. They said it's never been one brush of the pen and it's the issues solved, right? So like Abraham Lincoln technically freed the slaves, but some people didn't hear about that for a long fucking time, right? So he wrote it into, and even then though we had Jim Crow laws and everything else, and so I guess it was an interesting point. I never thought about it. It's like, why would I think it would just happen like that? Perfect. Everything else we've seen with civil rights has been baby steps. I'm curious what your perspective is on that idea, because cannabis legalization isn't perfected, but
well, it's like what can what we're talking about cannabis. We're talking about a racist law. You see, back in the day, they used alcohol as a racist law. You know, until they were totally against Italians, anybody that drank wine or alcohol. the Puritans, they were, the Plymouth Rock people, those guys, the ones that created the penitentiary that would be for penance, you know, the ones that they don't, they're like Jehovah's Witness. They don't believe in coffee. They think coffee's evil, or they think tea is evil because it's a narcotic. I mean, you get these weird, especially spiritual religious people, not spiritual, but the religious people, they got these rules, and the Jews are just as bad. They had too many rules for Jesus. That's what pissed Jesus off. They had too many.
Right.
Can't do stuff on the Sabbath. Come on, give me a break. And yeah. So the wheat thing. It was all about racism in the beginning, and that's what put me in jail. Is pure racism, and that's why the hippies kept the Vietnam War going for another 4 years at least. Nixon time. The Viet Cong could have taken it a lot sooner, but you got Nixon in there, and then he opened up more bombing and tried to bomb people, bomb them out of it. But you can't. That's your homeland. These people aren't just going to go, hang around for the weekend. They live there. That's their life. You're talking about life or death. So they got that. But the weed, all those laws are racist laws. And that's what we have to come up with a cure. By the way, I have the answer. I have the answer to two of the biggest problems. But in the way we can express or show the blueprint is with a movie. This is what I want to do. I want to start a movie company called Peace Pipe Pictures. And in that movie company, we're going to do not just 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, 10-year projects. I want to do like lifetime projects. I want to do at least 20, 30-year projects. And the first project, or one of the first projects, I got a bunch of them all lined up all at once. One of them will be the immigration problem at the border. The changing this Title 42 or whatever it is. Okay, what we need to do at the border is organization. We need organization. We need people coming in, and that we need them coming in legally, in a sense that we need to have a good record of who and what and why are they coming in. Now, my solution is to hire the immigrants in the movie company. Every immigrant that comes through that border could be hired by the movie company and be on payroll of that movie company. And doesn't matter your age or your ability or whatever, as long as you're alive. See, the movie company, there's always something for someone to do in a movie company. You're never without a chore. Even if you're just laying there, you can be a body. You can be a warm body somewhere, or you can hold the door open. You
Yeah,
can
be the sound guy.
You can be all sorts of things.
Yeah.
And so what I want to do with the movie, and like I say, have this an ongoing thing. And what we get to do, because we're America, we get to cherry pick the best of the best out there. Because think about this. Who wouldn't want to come to America and be in the movies? Who? Who's going to say,
It's kind of
that's
what you think about when you think about America, the movies, and
yeah,
yeah.
that's right. That's right. And think about a movie company. You see, they got child laws, they got old people laws, they got laws for everything. They got gun laws, like as Baldwin found out, you just can't shoot somebody. There's laws, and he had to go through the courts, everything else. And by the way, that is the key to gun control. And what the key to gun control is insurance. Now, the truth is, technically, you should be able to get anything you want to make a movie. Okay. But for safety reasons, everything that you got, especially if it's a dangerous weapon, has to be insured. In other words, if anything happens, there's no damages involved. That's taken care of. The legal is taken care of. Anything comes up legally, that's taken care of. Everything's taken care of with insurance. And so if you need an AK-47 for a movie or to hunt pigs or whatever they say it's good for, get insurance. And if you got a good record, the insurance is not going to cost you that much, because if you are who you are, you got a good record, blah, 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 everything, you hit all the things, but you're still insured. And so if anything happens, if by some reason you freak out and you become a mass murderer, now, how to keep people from harm? Very easy, very easy. The insurance companies, I used to work for this insurance company called Hooper Homes. It wasn't an insurance company. It was like a security firm it was a security arm of that insurance company. And what I did, my job was to make sure that whoever bought insurance was telling the truth. Like, they really lived there. They really did drive this car. They really did not or did have an alcohol problem, blah, 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 blah. It goes on and on. They're going to get insurance, or if they're really bad, they're not going to get insurance, but they're also going to get a reason why, why their life is the way it is. Now, we do that with everything. Then we've got organizations. See, here's the key to the capitalist world we live in. Find a way to make money will solve almost all your problems, because everything, when it becomes an exercise of making things work, that's when you don't want to just run a deficit. For instance, the movie company now. I'm thinking. I thought this through. I've been thinking this through for a couple of years now, and what I see it happening with the agricultural problem. See, because the biggest problem in America was the cheap labor that we get with the agricultural workers, and that's the ones that sneak across the border. They're not sneaking across the border, to turn people into fentanyl and to kill them and everything else. They're sneaking across the border to pick fruit, or to pick grapes,
Do all
or
the jobs we don't want to do.
do all the shit jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the reason they keep them sneaking across the border, now they're not organized, and so they can treat them like shit. Everything else, if they belong to a movie company and say they were the United Pickers of the movie company, these are the people that can. Okay, now they're working for a movie company, so they're going to get paid properly. They're going to get housed properly. They're going to get taken care of properly. Everything's going to be properly, and everybody's going to make a profit. The farmers they're not going to go broke, paying decent wages for their help. No one has ever gone broke paying decent wages for their help. They only go broke when they take the money and splurge it on useless shit themselves that they never earned. You see how it works? Well, that's my plan, and I can see it coming to fruition, because there's nothing else. There's no one else saying, oh, "Hey, I got a better plan." You know what I'm saying?
Somebody's
Because
got to
if
do it.
you show people how to make money, and look at we got the what do you call those people on the internet? Influencers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you talk about an influencer how to make money, how to survive. They'll tell you. You know, they'll say, "Oh, I invented this little app that does this and that." And I got a friend; he's a photographer, Eddie Cariff, and his son got into computers. And next thing you know, his son is so wealthy. I mean, I'm quite sure Ed is retired, but he was a photographer, and his son now he owns some kind of streaming or something. Well, and same as us, Cheech and Chong. We're going to end up with the movie company I'm talking about, man. We get this going. Oh my God, you're talking about a movie mogul here.
Fuck yeah, dude. Speaking
Yeah,
speaking of movies, I don't mean to change the subject, but
sure.
just because you brought up movies, I read it's something you'd mentioned to me in the past, and now I'm seeing it in the headlines. Before we talked today, I just Googled Tommy Chong to see if anything new had happened in your life, and they mentioned the Cheech and Chong biopic, which is
Yeah.
something that isn't. Am I correct in thinking that one of your kids is working on that project, or am I wrong in
What
remembering that?
one of my kids, one of my daughter Robbie, and her guy Dave, they've done a docudrama. It's in the can,
Gotcha.
and they're thinking that the writer's strike might help their position because it's done, it's finished, it's ready to be sold, and now it's going to be worth a lot more because there's not a whole lot of product out there right now. You see,
Mhm.
and so with that in mind, I'm quite sure that Dave and Robbie will have some good news to tell us, because apparently they used old clips and all sorts of things with us, and it's really is more than just a documentary. It's more like I say, it shows some dirty laundry, Cheech and Chong's dirty laundry, but those exposés, they don't work unless there's some good dirt to uncover. So we got all that happening, and hopefully, it'll be out pretty soon. They've been working on it like for 5 years at least, and so it's been it's been raked over the coals a few
Yeah.
times.
So am I thinking of two separate things then? Is so it's maybe her
Yeah,
project and then there's the
yeah,
biopic?
yeah,
Is that
yeah. There's a group of guys that they bought both Cheech's book and my book, and they sent a couple of writers in there to talk to us about biopics. But I think when we get down to business, it'll be more. It'll be. We'll help a little bit more on the getting
sure?
getting the thing going. Because our stories, Cheech's story is unique. My story is very unique.
Right.
Together, because we really did change the world. With Up in Smoke. Up in Smoke just changed everything.
Yeah. Well, and I'm
It's,
telling you, like the guy that I mentioned today who doesn't even smoke, he goes, when I said Tommy Chong, he goes, nice dreams.
yeah,
I
yeah.
and Tommy, I'm young. I've looked at your films and I'm familiar with Up and Smoke and everything, but I wasn't familiar with Nice Dreams.
Oh
And he
yeah.
was. So I that's something new for me to look into. But
Well, Nice Dreams got Timothy Leary in it, and yeah, there's a lot of things. Paul Rubin, Pee Wee Herman,
mhm.
he's got a nice big role in it. Yeah, it was. I directed it, and it was the second one after we did next movie. See, I wrote and directed Up in Smoke, but Lou Adler, he called. He's known as the official director, which he did, but he directed with my. I was like back leading
Uh-huh.
everything, and then I had to step in and redo the ending, and so the ending for Up in Smoke is all Tommy Chong, and I got credit for it too. No, no, I've no, you gotta. There's a we're doing a podcast probably tomorrow, and it's Bowl Mates. It's called, and we're trying to get a thing going, a streaming service where you can smoke on our service,
Oh, cool.
and not have to worry about it. And so we're doing that. I guess it's tomorrow, And yeah, I love the way we're headed. I love when people have different attitudes and things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I've
Well,
always had a problem. When people say about weed, I used to tell everybody, and I was kind of right in a way, that when they legalize it, it grows so easy for everybody that I used to tell everybody your grandmother will grow more weed than you'll be able to smoke once it's legal.
right.
And that's true to a point, but they put all these packaging, these
Right. Not only the
packaging.
packaging, but like in Illinois and several states, I would say a lot of the states, too many of the states, how about that, that have legalized, and I say that in air quotes, you're not allowed to grow it at home. That's still
Yeah,
criminal. Or if you're
yeah,
caught with over 30 grams, generally speaking, you
yeah,
still go to jail.
yeah, and it's heavy time.
Yeah.
It's like you're a little bit pregnant. It's so stupid.
Right.
They're still got that racist law, that
You
racist.
you want to hear
You
something unique about Illinois? I worked with a defense attorney that's trying to change this. If a cop claims that they smell weed in Illinois, if you get pulled over and he just
yeah,
claims that he smells, it's not a
yeah, that's all he needs.
that's all he needs. And it is a crime in Illinois. It's a class C misdemeanor, which is equivalent to domestic violence.
To have the
To
smell of.
the smell of weed, it's supposed to be in an odor proof container in your vehicle. There's no such thing
Oh
as an odor proof container.
no,
Like a dog can, like, there's literally scientifically no such thing. I'm not saying that you can't make a container that holds odor very well, but
yeah.
I'm saying it's literally impossible if somebody has a
And
good
it's
sense of
stupid.
smell.
It's stupid.
Well, and
It's a
actually, if you
racist
think about
law.
it, what they get caught up in, because you think weed is legal, and so the cop will ask you, "You got weed in your car?" And you'll say, "Well, yeah, sure," because you think it's legal. And he's like, "Ah, I can smell it. I thought I could smell it." You can't prove that he couldn't smell it. You got a class C misdemeanor because you can't
Yeah,
prove that in court. So we're trying to take that out of the law. But see, it's like these little
yeah.
nitpicky things that stick with.
Oh
It's
yeah.
crazy.
Oh yeah. Yeah. What was the thing they're talking about today on the court? I forget it. I forget. But yeah, it was one of those how he felt or how he,
Sure.
it's just a weird legal thing,
Yeah.
But that's the world that we created. We created this world. Now let's perfect it.
That's right. And that's how I was going to end it. I was going to say we must not lose sight of how you started this movement and the original goal, which, like you say, this is based in racism and that continues to play out to this day.
It's a-
We must stop these policies. We must stop the
absolutely,
cycle.
absolutely. And it's a racist policy. And well, look at the king's coronation. Right then, it just showed you how racist Britain is. The father had no power to have his son and his son's black wife attend the ceremony. Isn't that the height of racism? The height. He's the son. Now, he may maybe not be the next in line to the throne, but he's the spare. If something else did happen, he could get it, you know? And so what are they doing? Oh, they're pretending like Megan doesn't exist. Oh, at least it doesn't exist for this photo op. Oh, that phoniness. Oh, the hypocrisy of it all. Just like, whoa.
Yeah.
Because I'm deep down, I love the tradition. I love the royalist. Growing up with Queen Victoria, there's some nice history, but that was back then, and and here we are with Charles being ignorant as can be. He had a shot there. He could, as a king, he could say, hold on, Harry's coming. Not only Harry's coming, but Meghan, I want you right here, because this is what this throne is all about. England is not just white people. England is everybody.
Yeah.
You know, and they like to play that game. But you notice what they do with the English? They always get in your tribal costume. You know, it's not like the suits and ties like the English wears. Oh, all of a sudden they got to get him into those hula skirts and all that shit. You got to be native, you know. You got to show your, you know, barefoot. What do you got shoes on? You know, you got to be barefoot, you know, and then you're gonna need a spear or something. Give him a spear or a knife. You got to get a knife in there. You know, they just want to keep everybody the slave. You know, everybody's the, you know, the, you know, yeah, the driver or the worker, the cook, the nanny, the everything but the queen or the lady of the house. You know, they're not ready for that one yet, but
Right.
they will be. They will be. It's coming.
Yeah. And we just got to keep fighting for that future because we know that that's what it, you know, that's
Well,
what's right.
you know what we're doing now, and this is what I tell people too, especially with older guys. You know, on my cameo thing. You know, what we're doing, because once you become enlightened, you don't have to prove it to anybody. You don't have to. There's nothing to prove. Nothing to prove. You went to school. You learned. You know how equal everybody is. You learn the spirit of the soul, the existence of the soul. You've learned all the good stuff that you need to learn. And more than anything, you learn how to be nice to the people that are nice to you, and how to make your world nice just by being nice, you know, and it rubs off. You know, like you don't ever want to take anything for granted, especially our existence uh, as we know it now, because it seems, you know, we're always at war. There's a reason, and the reason is that's how we evolve. We use war to evolve, because what happens with war? War destroys, and what when you're destroyed, then you got to build it back. And so you build it back, and you build it back bigger and better, like uh, uh, Biden wants to do. Build it back bigger and better. Build back better. I like his little things. You know, I went to a Hunter Biden art show about a year ago now, and it was good. Hunter is a good artist. He's a real good artist, and I'm really anxious to for them to get out this Hunter's his laptop. What do you call it?
Laptop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Did you meet Hunter?
Because Ivanka and Jared, you know, they got billions in money from everywhere, from
Right.
Russia, China, and everything else. And they're trying to paint Biden as a, you know, what kills me too is that Biden only won because Trump picked him. See, when everybody was running for President, Biden never had a chance with anybody. Well, look at him now. Look at the polls now. You know, he's not that popular. But it was a fact that Trump was afraid of him. And when that fact came out, then all the Republic or the Democrats said, "Okay, Biden's our guy," and sure enough, he won. And because he's so straight and so honest, he had no idea that people would even think about cheating. You
Right.
know, how dare you cheat? You're not supposed to cheat.
Yeah.
And then when they found out, it was like, well, that's not right. You know,
Yeah.
and like he's scolding Pence. You know, Pence is like a henchman with no balls, and Pence is smart. He knows that you can't get away with this.
My
You
thing
know,
about that whole thing was that Bill Maher literally predicted it, I think the year that Donald Trump got elected, that he would not concede even if he wasn't elected. I think that's so crazy. And he was right.
oh
Like
sure,
Bill Maher called it before everybody.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, well, there's a lot of us. We knew that he was, because that's his mo. He
Hmm.
doesn't. He's never wrong. You know,
Right.
everybody else is wrong. He's right. But now, with the court of law. You see, you can't play that game. You
Yeah.
can play that game until you get in front of a judge and you got to hold your hand on a Bible and swear to God. And once you do that, man, your ass is grass. Because if you're lying even a little bit, man, you're found out. You know, it's a power. And that's what I want to leave you with. The power, the word God is so powerful. It's the most powerful word on the planet, God. It's every religion worships the same God. Every religion claims that God to be their God and no one else's. And every religion that thinks that way is wrong because they're right. There is only one God, but he looks after all of us, including the Trumps of the world, you know, because you can't have good without bad. You can't have up without down. You can't have Cheech without Chong, you know. It's just the nature of our existence. And that's the way it's always going to be. And right now we're on a nice ride. I call it a beautiful ride with can you think of I can't think of a better way of getting over a pandemic than the way we did it.
Absolutely.
Even having Trump
Dude,
do his weird shit, you know.
during the pandemic, weed was declared as essential. Let me just,
Yes.
isn't that
Yeah.
crazy?
Yeah. It was because it is.
Right.
It
That's
was.
absolutely.
It came down to the point where, oh no, we're going to need weed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It's because it is a medicine.
that's right.
It is a medicine. And it was always been a medicine. And that's what the old folks, the slaves and that's what they used it back in the day. You know, it was the slaves that turned everybody on to the weed that was growing everywhere. You know, the hemp plant was growing everywhere, you know, because of the war and everything else. But
Yeah,
you can't have hemp plants without cannabis, you know, with the THC being there. It's so
that's
great.
right. That's right. Well,
Well, listen, I really enjoyed talking to you, but I think we're done, right?
yes, we are, my friend. Yes, we are. So thank you so much. I appreciate your time. And I wanted to just wish you again a happy birthday. So,
Well, thank you very much for thinking about me. I appreciate that.
yep. Take care, Tommy. Bye.
Take care, man.